All right, let's get to work right now. We start Thursday, December 23rd, 8:20 p.m. San Francisco 49ers, 8-6, 5-2 on the road at Tennessee Titans, 9-5, 5-2 at home. Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, 51 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour is the weather expectation. I told my dad about the Niners action that I have now. It's only $50 on each bet, so I shouldn't even bring it up. But the 30-1 on the NFC and 61 on the Super Bowl, and he thinks it was just trash action. That's what he thinks. He thinks I'm just a homer and it's a terrible bet and they have no chance of winning. I don't think that's the case. I could not prove that it was not a homer bet, but this Niners team is playing very good football. They've won 2 in a row and 5 of 6. This opened up with San Francisco -3 at -125 at Bet365. We're going to use Bet365 openers for this show, although I do have Pinnacle and Circa and different books up, FanDuel for line shopping for Bebsie. And it quickly moved to 3.5. So it's at 3.5 at -110, and I've got no problem with that. I think that's a fine number. The total is also sitting at 44.5, and I don't know how Tennessee is going to score many points against this Niners defense. This Niners team comes in off a dominant 31-13 victory at home over Atlanta. Jimmy G was 18 of 23 for 235 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. George Kittle had another great game. 6 catches for 93 yards. Deebo Samuel caught 4 passes, for 60 yards and ran 6 times for 29 yards and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel has run for a touchdown in his past 5 games. That he's got 7 on the year, but 5 straight games running for a touchdown. That's the 3rd longest streak for San Francisco since the merger, which is hard to believe. Raheem Mostert, 6 in 2019, and Derek Loville, 6 in 1995. Some big names missing from that list. Jeff Wilson ran 21 times for 110 yards and 1 touchdown. The defense swarmed Matt Ryan, sacked him 3 times. Bosa got his 15th sack of the season, gives him sacks in 6 straight games. That's the longest run for a 49ers player since Aldon Smith did it 7 straight games in 2012. And he's 4.5 sacks shy of Smith's franchise record, 19.5 sacks this season. This Niners red zone defense was excellent. Now, I'm interested to hear what if Bebsie thinks it's the 49ers defense that's excellent or the Falcons' putrid offense, red zone offense. Falcons ran 13 plays from the 10-yard line or closer and didn't score a touchdown. 13 plays from the 10-yard line or closer and didn't score a touchdown. That ties for the second most plays that close to the end zone without a touchdown since 1991. Atlanta was stopped on 5 plays from the 1-yard line. The Niners announced that Emmanuel Mosley won't be back until Week 18 at the earliest. Safety Tarvarius Moore is done for the season with an Achilles injury. Talanoa Hufanga, knee left in the first half and didn't return. He's a safety. He's dealing with a knee sprain. He's listed as questionable. Azeez Al-Shaair is questionable with his elbow injury. Defensive tackle Maurice Hurst, linebacker Dre Greenlaw, and running back Elijah Mitchell are all expected out. For these Titans, they come in off a 19-13 loss at Pittsburgh. They were up 13-3 at the half, and then were shut out the rest of the way. They've lost 3 of 4. They turned the ball over 13 times over those 4 games. Curtis Berry says Tannehill looks a lot like he did in Miami. Play action hasn't been working as well without Henry. Titans secondary doesn't look much better. But Tasha says Titans upset the 49ers. That's from Tasha. Terry Walker liking San Francisco. Tannehill was 23 of 32 for 153 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. 23 completions for 153 yards. He was also sacked 4 times. This Titan team did fumble the ball 5 times, losing 3 of them. Julio Jones tweaked his hamstring late in the second quarter, didn't return. He hasn't taken part in practice this week so far. He's considered questionable. There were positives. The running game was strong. They ran 42 times for 201 yards. Donta Foreman ran 22 times for 108 yards. They controlled possession for more than 35 minutes. They went 39 minutes of possession. 8 of 18 on third down. But the receivers continually hurt the Titans with drops and fumbles. Westbrook Akine led the way with 4 catches for 32 yards. The defense was strong. So maybe the under is a very simple play here. The defense was strong. The Steelers only put up 168 yards. Zach Cunningham made his Titan debut at 6 tackles. As a team, they had 3 sacks. A.J. Brown has been designated to return from injured reserve. How much is that going to help this offense? We'll let Bebsie touch on that. Cornerback Elijah Molden was placed on the COVID list on Monday. We're going to be talking a lot of COVID talk. Offensive tackle Taylor Lewan and guard David Quisenberry were inactive. Their list is questionable this week. Cornerback Chris Jackson was designated to return from injured reserve Monday. So they're going to have Chris Jackson back. They're going to have A.J. Brown back. And Derrick Henry says that he will be back as early as the team's Week 18 matchup with the Texans. Bebsie, how do we cash in this spot? Is the under live? Do you like the Niners here? Take it away.
Well, just making it official for Real Deal Prime.
As you should.
Bear with me 1 second.
Oh, good stuff. I'll cheers to that.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Well, listen, I hate to say it here, but I think I agree with Tasha on this one. This is a tough spot for the Niners. Every time we've thought they're going to do well this year, they absolutely do not. And now they're going all the way to Tennessee on a short week, coming off a very handy win for San Francisco. I'm not going to say easy win because I think the score maybe indicated more of a blowout than that game was. If it weren't for the red zone failures, which I think are both on the offense of the Falcons, but also the defense of the 49ers stepped up. Got to give them credit. But what the Falcons didn't do is exploit this secondary. And they are vulnerable in that secondary. So far this season, opposing quarterbacks facing Ambry Thomas have a perfect passer rating. So that's going to be an issue, especially with you're facing Tennessee coming off a tough loss. A weird ending with a weird spot. But you're coming off a bad loss to the Steelers. You're at home facing the Niners, who they're not cruise control by any means, but they've been one of the hotter teams in the NFL. The key to the Niners winning this game is their run game. And without Elijah Mitchell, you're relying heavily on Jeff Wilson Jr., who is a beast when he's healthy, and he has been. But as just a bell cow, I worry about it. So I think I would lean Tennessee. Excuse me, I understand why people are taking the money line on this one. I don't have a lot of faith in the Niners crossing country on a short week. But I think the safest play here would be the under. I think this ends up being two teams that struggle to score a little bit. And if the San Francisco 49ers are going to win this game, they have to control the clock running the ball. And if that's the case, then that also helps your under out.
So let's talk about, do we expect Julio Jones to be in the lineup, or is A.J. Brown going to come back and Julio Jones will be out? Start there.
Sorry, say that again?
Do you expect Julio Jones to be in the lineup, or do you think the hamstring injury will keep him out? Because if Julio Jones is back and A.J. Brown makes his return to the lineup, then I think the secondary can be touched. If Julio Jones can't make it back from his hamstring injury and then A.J. Brown is back, I still don't know how vulnerable they're going to be against Tannehill.
Well, here's the thing. The 49ers pass rush does an excellent job making up for some of the deficiencies in the secondary. Look, they have strong safeties. Ward and Tart are very underrated safeties, especially when they're healthy, which so far they have been. Julio, I agree with what Slatsy's saying here. Julio isn't a huge factor, healthy or not. It's just that presence on the field of Julio Jones. I have to think if he's not 100%, Tennessee would be crazy to play him because you need him healthy for the playoffs. If they're going to make any kind of push, they need Derrick Henry back. They need Julio Jones back. And if A.J. Brown is back, I think he makes an impact regardless because he's facing – I don't know if they're gonna follow him with – but they still have Josh Norman and Ambry Thomas, who – I mean, Ambry Thomas is having some tough luck. He's been mossed a couple times. He is still a rookie, and he didn't play last year in college because of COVID. So I think I think he'll be better than he is playing. And I do want to touch on what Birdie said here. That's not true. I faded them 2 out of the last 3 weeks. And I didn't. I faded them 3 weeks ago. I was for them, then against them last week. I still thought they'd win. I just said they didn't beat the spread. And here I mean, I'll go head to head and fight you if you want.
Well, I can hit that. I can reach over. I did bring the computer close enough for me to be able to reach over just for situations like this, just to be able to tap the most exciting part of this show.
It's fuck you, Birdie. We're fighting. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh shit. Let's touch on this and then we'll move on. Birdie says I like the under here. Dupree makes such a big difference. He's been out almost all year, and he does make a big difference. Let's just take a look at where the cash lies in this spot. We have 3,593 tickets in. 59% of the tickets are on the Niners, so they're public. And 82% of the cash, which is why it moved from 3 to 3.5. I bet some big bets came in at 3. Then you have 67% of tickets on the over and 89% of cash on the over. Do you agree that, and that's going to be enough to keep me off of it. Do you agree that Dupree back leans you towards the under in this spot?
Listen, I think the way that Shanahan has Garoppolo running this offense, he gets the ball out very quick. And as great of a player as Bud Dupree is, they're going to be aware of him. I think the biggest concern is Simmons in the middle, because the 49ers do not have the strongest inside. Alex Mack is good, but if you get on top of Brunskill, then you got trouble. They got Tom Compton on the other side too. It's all going to come down to if they can run the ball. So if they're playing from behind and they're throwing a lot, then Bud Dupree becomes a big factor. If they're able to run the ball, then they'll neutralize him entirely.
Dan, you've come to the right place. Dan Kelly in the house. You've come to the right place to fix that. Okay, we're going to move on here, but is it possible that this running game led by Deonta Foreman can hurt the Niners and create play action? Is it possible?
Their run game has actually improved quite a bit. When Kinlaw and Hurst went down, they were getting gouged, but DJ Jones is playing. He's healthy now. I don't think he was healthy early in the season, whether he was on the injury report or not. He wasn't playing himself, but they've moved Arden Key inside. And a lot of you guys are probably like, who the fuck is Arden Key? Arden Key was an absolute stud at LSU. He was drafted. He fell in the draft due to some off-the-field issues, but I think he still went early second round, if I'm not mistaken, to the Raiders, where his career was very Raider-like. 3 sacks in 3 years. The Niners have moved him inside. He has 5 sacks in 6 games from the inside. And so he's improving that on passing downs, on run downs. They're getting much better in the middle with some great play from DJ Jones. So it's going to be tough. Teams have struggled to run against the Niners while they've been on this hot streak.
Well, I don't want this to sound too homer, but I think the Niners take care of business here. I think this is a team getting hot at the right time. I can understand the under being a look, but just like I was talked off the under in the Jets-Dolphins game, which I'm very thankful for.
Again, one thing that favors the Niners in this is it's definitely not a look ahead. They're playing Houston next week. They are, I think, next to the Colts, they might be the hottest team in the NFL right now. I think what hurts them is being in cruise control to that victory last week, and Tennessee losing a stinger, losing a tough loss. So I think Tennessee comes out angry here. Tennessee first half might be a look. But listen, if I'm making a bet in this, I lean Tennessee, but what I do like in this is the under. And I'm surprised that there's all that money on the over here.
Is that something that you would like to make official?
It's still Thursday night football, Jimmy. Listen, I don't even want to watch it. I have to, but I don't want to.
Well, now is the time to switch it all up. So we'll give you a chance to change everything and put in some Thursday night
gotta have
action.
a code, Jimmy.
I'm not going to move on the Niners right now, but I expect to move on the Niners by game time. I don't want the Niners at 4-5, and there's an idea that could happen. I'm very interested to keep an eye on this total to see if, but I do care more about the early money than I do about the later money. So that's where we stand. There we go. Thursday, December 23rd. That's the big Thursday nighter that we'll all have our eyes on.